Greetings and welcome. TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. And this is me, Oberon, with my outlook on the emotional exchanges, which is my weekly tarot forecast with a little bit of astrology to give you the emotional ups and downs, the current information you need to know, what's going on in your love life or with those you care about the most, what ticks your talk. And that's all for you for today, Friday, April 9th, till next Thursday, which is the 15th. So we start off by having a collective reading for everyone. And as my show is mostly based around Egyptian themes, Egyptian-based tarot and symbology, I use the Isis Tarot, which is not really a tarot at all. It's more of an oracle kind of deck. It does use some specific types of archetypes. So I think I've shuffled these enough, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the card for the collective thought. Oh, how modern. Barbed wire. I'll put that right there. Barbed wire, number 16. A fear that paralyzes. Feeling like a prisoner in your own delusions or misery and pride. Catastrophes and conflicts. Punishment. So this is not a good omen for all. It seems to indicate to me that there are some barriers. There are some problems that cause fear in the greater realm, perhaps, of society. Limitations. Things we don't really like. So please take care, all. And I'm a little disturbed by that. So sorry. So let's get on. And as I said earlier, the reading more or less has a basis a little bit in astrology because my predictions are quartered for signs of the zodiac by their elemental associations. So we go through them as air, fire, water, and earth. And so I'm going to present the air signs first. Air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And as part of the reading, we give them the additional word of the week, prescription, from the Aglypikos Tarot. Prescription sounds like it means to prescribe. So I think we're talking about air signs finding the need to perhaps indicate to themselves, to the people around them, to their higher selves even, what it is they feel will make them better, what it is will make them feel cured, healed, or prescribed to a pure intent. I'm going to go with that one. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the rest of the reading. And I used the Clive Barrett Ancient Egypt Tarot. Okay. What emotional happiness will the air signs find this week? That's the Four of Cups, upright. And I think air signs, as a creatures of intellect mostly, perhaps guided by their air impulse towards brainy things, thinking things. Thoughts are thoughts, right? Four of Cups resonates to an emotional quality that says we will be happy when we are looking at what is offered to us in life, and maybe when we feel we have the vantage point of having time to really look at these things and relate to them, resonate to them, explore them, contemplate them. We're not feeling a pressure to make choices based on more needful things. We feel we have the luxury to kind of, follow some of our impulses. That's the Four of Cups. So then what might be challenging us or surprising to us this week given that? And it's the Major Arcana 8, Strength. And so your challenge will be to possibly look at what some of these things that are offering to you, and you're going to look at moving ahead with them mostly based on the quality of what your heart feels strongest about, the compassion you feel that empowers you to spread whatever it is that you're seeing there from those Four of Cups, the lovely things that you would like to happen. You will probably find ways to really advance those notions because you're such in awe of them. I mean, and you feel that they deliver strength of the heart and of compassion for good and righteousness. So it feels really great. So what could possibly help more now is to know what happens, what those around you, your loved ones, maybe not all of them, but some of them, maybe it's your wife or husband, or maybe it's your coworker that you really like, or your children. What will concern them this week? And I think it may be more about children or maybe about younger friends for you. The sun reversed. And I'm thinking that what concerns these folks is that maybe there is a sense of worry with some of them, of finding that maybe some of the happiness they're looking for is delayed or is obscured to them. The sun is not shining so bright. And if there are these younger people around you, maybe that's what this is telling you, is that this is the week to kind of pour some extra care and love into those around you, especially younger people who maybe are needing mentoring. It could be another way of looking at the proscription card there, that we are just looking at how we can offer help and help things become better. And so I think that's what you got going, air signs, this week. And I don't know the exact signs out there, but I know that most signs, I believe, are still in good direct motion, and that we do have some interesting Mars-Mercury aspects that maybe are going to affect all of us. But in general, this is a week, summing it up briefly here, for you to really think about what you care, what you love, but from a point of view that you can do this in comfort, and you can apply the strengths you own to help others, especially those younger than you who are looking right now for some knowledge, some information, some mentoring. It's all good. So now we're going to move on to the fire signs. And fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And your word of the week is generosity from the Galapagos Tarot. Generosity for the fire signs. Okay, I'm not going to laugh. I think sometimes fire signs can be very generous, especially certain ones. But I also think that sometimes they may not be. And I'm not calling any judgment on that. That's mostly based on some personal stuff. And no, I'm not talking about the Banshee. She's one of the most generous giving persons ever. But in general, this week is telling us, even magnify that more. Be as generous as you can to those around you. And maybe in a way, it's sort of like the fire signs' transformative energies are looking at the same situations that maybe the air signs were going with, and that rather than prescribing things, you're ready to get down and get funky with, handing off the energies or the monies or the gifts or whatever it is you can do to help others, to be generous to others, because maybe this is the time to do that. And remember, if you guys are generous to each other or to others, then maybe you're setting a pattern of paying forward, and that will happen for you as well. So let's move on and do the rest of our reading. Give them a good shuffle here. A riffle. All right, fire signs. What emotional happiness will you fire signs find this week? And here we have the Queen of Swords. And I think we're in our element, fire signs, when we know we're kind of picking up the reins a little bit and we're saying, I have to do these things. I may have to do them alone. I mean, Banshee and I were just discussing this the other day because the Queen of Swords comes up in enough readings, and we've seen it coming, we've seen it going, and we sort of feel like sometimes this is a person that has to do the right thing, and maybe they don't always have everybody having their back behind them. But regardless of that part, I think what is emotionally pleasing for you is that you just feel really empowered to go about what you need to do. And it may not be big decisions, it may not be small decisions, but you have the thrust of authority behind you, and you have the essence of fairness and good, sound judgment. So this should make you happy, especially if it is really where you are getting the chance to shine in that kind of light. So then what will be surprising to you, fire signs? And it's a fiery card at that too. It is the reversed King of Wands. What may be surprising is that despite how positive you're feeling about yourself and your ability to go forth and render judgments, and also the being generous thing, you are possibly feeling that you're challenged by the fact that maybe they're not all are in your court. Maybe some other people don't feel attuned to your magnetism and your charisma that you feel you have. And I'm not trying to say you don't have it. I think fire signs are very aware of their abilities in that realm. They are very sure about how they can get people to notice them and how people can respect them. But I'm thinking this surprise this week is that maybe there's a situation that puts you a little bit off of that, and maybe you're not feeling that feeling from others. You're feeling, I don't know why I'm saying that it's involving others. It may just be something you're feeling yourself, that you're just kind of off your game. Maybe you also feel too that some of the things you really want to be directive of, in charge of, the Queen, are actually more challenging than you thought. I think that could be it too, that although you're happy to do these things, you realize there's a challenge involved in some of that. And maybe that's where generosity comes in, possibly, because maybe you're going to just have to be a little bit more generous about working with your resources in order to have some of these things working for you, the taking charge of it and being in charge and producing things that is otherwise suggested by the King of Wands. So you love doing that, but it may be a surprise that not everybody else thinks of you in the same regard. And then finally, what will concern others around you, those you care about the most? Maybe they're your mom, or maybe there are people that are down the street from you that you really like to hang out with once in a while, and you care about them. Whoever they are, you have the reversed Prince of Princess of Cups, and that would be kind of like the Page of Cups in a normal deck. In the standard deck, I won't say normal. And so the Page of Cups reversed is kind of saying that maybe there are people who are feeling a little bit adrift from the surety of their feelings, their intuitiveness, that maybe you have some people like this around you who strongly feel that they understand the currents of emotions and that they understand where things are going. They sense things, but maybe some of these people are feeling like something's putting them off too. Like maybe there is a struggle to kind of pull themselves back together, and you're going to need to maybe be helpful with that. Maybe it's where the generosity also kicks in. So let's look at this again. You have a spirit of wanting to be helpful this week, possibly to give to others however you can. You're happy because maybe this sort of puts you in a sense of being in charge. It gives you a position to where you are able to do these things, to direct these efforts towards helping others. But maybe you also think it's surprising that more people don't understand that, or more people don't acknowledge that in certain ways, or aren't willing or able to give you a little bit of a handle or help with that matter. And then there's that one there, the Princess of Cups, that says maybe some other people around you are not quite getting it either. There's something maybe that's just a little bit adrift with other people's sense of timingness or devotion to these kind of goals as well. So it's very interesting, fire signs. It looks like a little bit of give and take there, but try to be your best self possible and keep going with the flow. The flow mostly looks good despite those little bits of animosity or whatever you want to call those there. So that's what I have for the fire signs. And so now we're going to move on to the water signs. And I say water sign, and then I hear a peal of thunder and some thunder out there. It's kind of raining a little bit out there behind me. It sort of suits the stormy emotions that I feel are being shown to us in these readings here. So take it for what it's worth. It's a rainy day. And now we are on the water signs, which are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. This one's for you. And your word of the week is the provider. And that's kind of interesting because the provider is not exactly like generosity, though the provider can be generous, of course. The provider really is maybe the person who really has that job of being generous. And so maybe it is always their job to be providing something. Maybe in a more generalized context, the provider could be saying that for water signs this week, you may find yourself being more called upon to nurture others or to support others in various ways. Maybe somebody is out of sorts and maybe you have to come by and cook them some meals or clean their house or take their dog out for a walk. It could mean a number of things where you actually have to be more physically involved in rendering some sort of service or material goods of some sort, or maybe they're emotional goods. Maybe you have to provide good emotional feelings somehow. So let's get on with our reading then. Ready? Water signs. What will your emotional happiness be this week? And it's the Three of Cups reversed. So it's kind of like saying well, it's not exactly what you expected, but it's still kind of okay. It doesn't, totally suck, of course. That's not even close to half true. It may very well be that people will feel very happy around you, that maybe there's a sense of celebration in the air. And maybe the only dampening of that is just it is still not quite the full-fledged kind of thing it is, so that there may be some sense of safety monitoring, with COVID and stuff like that. I don't know about you guys out there, but my state seems to be particularly on the increase again, and I know that there's a few others like that. So please be safe, everybody. If you are called to attend celebrations, be wise and do what you should know is the best thing to do to be safe. So that's that. And then what will be challenging to you, water signs this week, and I don't know if it's related to that. It sounds like it could be. It's the Hangman reverse. And I think what challenges us is that maybe there are some things we have to review, relook at, possibly renegotiate. Maybe some of these are things that we think we are done with and we wanted to get rid of them. Maybe they're not. Or maybe they are things that we should be done with and we need to get them out, sacrifice them, so to speak. Remember, sacrifice really talks about receiving a greater value, or somebody receiving a greater value by that effort. So it should not be so horrifying, to have to make certain changes that maybe are for the better. And so if you want to draw a line between those two, that's what it is there. What's that one again? The providers. So yes, provide. And then finally, what will possibly concern our friends, our loved ones, our parents, our children, platonic friends that we feel very close about, anybody like that. And what may concern them is represented in this Nine of Swords, that may suggest that for them, there are some emotional hard times, there are some anxiety, and yet possibly these are things that maybe they are needing to kind of lighten their own tone a little bit. They may be things that maybe are more overly anxious for them than possible. I'm still considering all the safety things, especially what I talked about in regards to my own state here. The possibility of gatherings where we have to be safe. And maybe this isn't really about that so much, that Nine of Wands or Swords, but maybe it is saying too that we just need to be reasonable. We need to work with really what is the best intelligence that really is out there for understanding feelings, understanding hardships, and that those of us who really are undergoing those, examine truly where your role is. You don't do anybody any good by worrying about things that you can't really affect and that maybe are not really exactly within your domain. It's good to be supportive, but sometimes we might throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. So I'm going to look at that again briefly and just say that, once again, it's an interesting week for the signs. It must something be in the signs, in the stars up there. But I do feel that we're going to have mostly positive motions because we're learning how to accept challenges and changes. Maybe there's a little bit of karma involved. Maybe we are deciding that we are all in this together and we really have to work together. And that means that maybe we have to support the people that don't understand the way they feel. We have to try to help them, find something else to feel instead, if that's more appropriate. So that's what I have for the water signs. So finally, we are going to move on to the earth signs. Earth signs: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And your word of the week is meditation. And so I think that, meditation turns the key, as they say. It doesn't have to be some hoary program of, transcendental meditation. Breathe this many times, exhale that many times. It doesn't have to be that. Meditation can be as simple as you letting your mind quiet down And it doesn't always come easy. It may not come on the first attempt if you're not new to this. You just keep going back and keep trying. But letting your mind be quiet enough so that you can review thoughts in a more thoughtful manner. Whether that sounds like a contradiction or not in terms of meditation, I don't know. But I find that just the ability to let your mind soften and calm itself can be very helpful. So think about that, Earth signs. Think about that, everybody. And now we're going to go ahead and do that reading. And I want to thank everybody who tunes into the live stream twice a week, Thursday nights and Sunday afternoons. The times are there on the screen, Eastern Standard Time. Also, don't forget to watch my other show, Goth Tarot, which is on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And finally, you must watch The Banshee. Banshee's Material Matters, which is pretty much the corollary to this show, kind of giving you those more basic ideas about finance and prosperity and success in your life. That's on at 10 a.m. Sunday mornings and more. Alrighty, Earth signs. Here we go. What will make the Earth signs happy this week? What emotional happiness will they have? And it's the Four of Discs reversed. And I think we're ready to spend some money, Earth signs. You know, normally the Earth signs are the best savers, and I'm not saying that in this instance they're not. But what will make us happy is realizing that we have saved enough for those rainy days, and that now it's time to go ahead and do those things we want to do, whether they're home projects or planning for trips or vacations or new TV, whatever it is. This is possibly what that's telling me here, is that this will make you very happy if you're able to just basically cut loose with some of the money ties. So hint, hint, I did say watch Banshee's Material Matters. That might give you another clue. But also, too, what is surprising or a challenge to the Earth signs? And it's the Two of Swords reversed. So the Two of Swords reversed is saying that along with this motion of spending money, looking at, some extra money that you could make things better with, there is also the idea, too, that you may want to just be exactly careful what you're going to do with that. There's a movement here. Make sure if you are planning any major expenses, as much as you possibly can. You're not just listening to a slick salesperson, but you're actually doing a little bit of that legwork yourself. The Two of Swords. No, it does suggest that there's movement and there's possibility of moving towards a decision. You just need to make sure you're doing what you need to do in terms of the research. Now, finally, then, Earth signs, what is it that will possibly affect your friends, your lovers, your spouses, parents, grandparents, whoever the most this week? And, oh, bummer, you all have all these reverse cards, but you now have the Three of Discs, and it's reversed. And I'm thinking the Three of Discs are suggesting that some of the folks around you maybe anybody who maybe is having some real possible training situations with their employment or an avocation or maybe in college. This could be very much about learning too. There's some issues there with some of those folks, and that some of these folks may be having some issues with either their dedication or they're not really feeling like their work is being appreciated. Maybe they have a cranky teacher, a hard-to-please boss, somebody like that. But these issues will trouble them a little bit. They may need your encouragement to, stick with the plan, if it is a plan, or to look for guidance to help them move along somewhere else where maybe their talents would be better realized. So let's look at that again briefly. And we think that mostly meditation, thinking about what life has to offer or what can be changed or not, is a good plan for the Earth signs this week. It may very well be that what you'll be thinking about is exactly what you want to do with your money. And it just came to me too, but of course a lot of people by now have probably filed their taxes, or at least have a sense of what they may be getting in return, what they can possibly do there. So I think that's a nice coinciding with that. But what is challenging maybe is just making sure that everything really is moving in the right direction, that you're not necessarily listening to somebody who is trying to sell you a bill of goods. And then finally, with the Three of Discs reverse, those around you care about may be having some issues with their own training or the sense of appreciation they feel. Maybe they just have the hardest boss in the world to please. Or maybe they're coming to a grappling point about their education. I mean, it isn't unusual for young people to suddenly realize maybe a year or more in that they don't really like that course of study, and maybe they feel they're not suited for it. So it could be any of those kind of issues. You're going to be there to help pick up the pieces, hopefully. All right, so my friends, the Earth signs, that is what I have for you. And I'm glad everybody came to join me for Oberon's Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges. I'll be back next week. So until then, have a great, happy, emotionally fulfilling weekend.